You are standing at the movie theater counter. You just want a small popcorn and a drink. Simple. And then you look up at the menu, and the number hits you like a slap. That little cardboard tub of puffed corn costs almost as much as the movie ticket itself. A snack. The same price as an actual meal at a decent restaurant. And the drink? Somehow, that costs even more. You hand over the money anyway, because you are already here, and you shuffle into the dark clutching a tub of corn that just cost you a small fortune. And a quiet little voice in your head asks the question nobody ever answers. Why on earth is movie popcorn so expensive? And here's the thing. The answer is not what you think. It is not just greed, and it is definitely not because the popcorn is fancy. It is popcorn. It is one of the cheapest foods on the entire planet. The real reason is a secret about how movie theaters actually make money. And once you understand it, that ridiculous popcorn price suddenly makes total and slightly evil sense. So let's kill the easy answer first, the one everybody reaches for. The theater is just being greedy. And sure, nobody is running a cinema as a charity. But think about it. If the theater could make a fortune on ticket sales alone, they would not need to gouge you on snacks at all. The fact that they push the popcorn this hard is a giant flashing clue. It means the tickets are not where the money is. In fact, the tickets are barely making them anything at all. Here's the part that shocks most people. When you buy a movie ticket, the theater does not get to keep most of it, not even close. That money mostly goes back to the movie studio, the big company that made the film. And for a huge new blockbuster on opening weekend, the studio can take somewhere around 90% of every ticket. 90%. The theater, the actual building you are sitting in, keeps a tiny sliver. It does get a little better over time. The longer a film stays in theaters, the bigger the cut the cinema gets to keep. Week 1, the studio takes almost everything. By week 5, the split is friendlier to the theater. But by week 5, let's be honest, the seats are mostly empty. So on the big crowded nights, the nights when the place is packed, the theater is basically renting you a chair and handing almost all your ticket money straight to Hollywood. So stop and picture this from the theater owner's side. You have a giant building. You have got expensive projectors, air conditioning, cleaning staff, and 100 plush seats to maintain. A huge crowd pours in for the new superhero movie, and almost every dollar of those tickets flies out the door to the studio. How in the world do you keep the lights on? How do you make a single cent of actual profit? You sell them popcorn. This, right here, is the whole secret. The movie is not really the product. The movie is the bait. The theater's actual store, the place it makes its real money, is not the screen. It is that glowing snack counter in the lobby. The film gets you through the doors. The popcorn is how they win. And once you see the theater as a popcorn shop that happens to show movies, everything clicks. Because popcorn is not just any snack. Popcorn might be the single most profitable product ever sold by anyone, anywhere. Let's talk about why. Corn kernels are absurdly cheap. A big bag of unpopped kernels costs a theater almost nothing. And here is the magic. When those kernels pop, they puff up to many times their original size. A tiny scoop of cheap kernels becomes a giant, overflowing tub of fluff. So that $8 tub of popcorn, the corn inside it might have cost the theater somewhere around 30 to 80 cents. Add the buttery topping and the bag, and you are still looking at pennies becoming dollars. The markup on movie popcorn can be well over 1,000%. There is almost nothing else you can legally sell with numbers like that. And it gets even more perfect for them because of the smell. That warm, buttery popcorn smell is not an accident. Theaters pump it right into the lobby on purpose. It is the most effective, cheapest advertisement in the building. You walk in already, and your stomach basically makes the decision before your brain does. You were not even hungry. Now you need popcorn. That smell is doing millions of dollars of selling for free. Now, here's where it turns genuinely clever, almost sneaky. Because the theater has one more enormous advantage that a normal shop does not. You are trapped. It is called a captive audience. You cannot bring in your own snacks. There are signs and staff to make sure of it. And you are not going to leave halfway through the film to go find a cheaper shop. For those 2 hours in that dark room, the theater is the only place on earth you can buy a snack. They have zero competition. And when you are the only seller in the room, you can charge whatever you like. Think about how that bends your brain. Out in the real world, if a shop charged $8 for popcorn, you would laugh and walk to the shop next door. But inside the cinema, there is no shop next door. There is no next door at all. So that same silly price suddenly feels like your only option. And you know what? You pay it. Almost everyone does. Then, just to squeeze out every last drop, they play the size game. And this one is beautiful once you notice it. You step up to order and you ask for a small popcorn. The person behind the counter says the small is $5. But the large, the giant bathtub of popcorn, that is only $7. Just $2 more for what looks like 3 times the popcorn. Well, now you feel like an absolute fool for even considering the small. Only a sucker buys the small. So you say, go big, and you happily hand over the 7. Here is the trick. They never actually expected to sell you the small. The small exists to make the large look like a genius bargain. That middle and large size are priced on purpose so that spending more feels like saving. It is called anchoring, and it works on almost everybody, every single time. You did not get a deal. You got gently steered into spending more, and you thank them for it. And they do the exact same dance with the combos. Popcorn, plus a drink, plus some candy, all bundled together for a price that feels smart compared to buying them separately. And the drink, by the way, is even more profitable than the popcorn. A large soda is mostly ice and fizzy sugar water that costs them a few cents. You are paying premium prices for the cheapest ingredients in the entire building, and it is all designed to feel like a treat. So let's put the whole strange machine together, because now you can actually see it. A movie theater is not really a place that sells movies. It is a snack shop with a very expensive, very effective advertisement playing in the back rooms. The tickets barely break even because most of that money belongs to the studios. The building survives, the staff get paid, the lights stay on, almost entirely because of what happens at that counter. In many theaters, the food and drinks bring in a huge share of all the actual profit, even though they are a small share of the sales. The popcorn is not a side hustle, the popcorn is the whole business. And here's the twist that makes it almost fair. That overpriced popcorn is part of the reason your ticket is not even more expensive than it already is. If theaters could not make their money on snacks, they would have to charge you a lot more just to walk in. So, in a strange way, the people happily buying giant tubs of popcorn are helping keep the door price down for everyone else. The snackers are quietly subsidizing the whole room. Now, once you understand this trick, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere. Because the movie theater is not special. It is just running one of the oldest plays in business, and it has a name. It is called a loss leader. You sell one thing cheap or even at a loss just to get people in the door. Then you make your real money on something else once they are there. Think about the printer sitting on your desk. The printer itself was weirdly cheap, almost suspiciously cheap. And then the ink cartridges cost a fortune, over and over, forever. The printer was the bait. The ink is the popcorn. Or think about game consoles. Companies will sell you the actual console at barely any profit, sometimes even at a loss, because they know the real money comes later, from every game you buy for it. The console is the movie ticket. The games are the popcorn. It is the free sample at the food shop that gets you to buy the whole box. It is the cheap roast chicken at the back of the supermarket, placed there on purpose so you walk past everything else and fill your basket on the way. It is the free app that costs nothing to download and then sells you 100 little things inside. Once you learn to ask the simple question, where is the real money actually being made, you can never switch it off. You will spot the bait in the popcorn in almost everything you buy. So the next time you are standing at that counter, watching them scoop pennies of corn into an $8 tub, you will not feel quite so annoyed. You will feel like you are in on the secret. You will know that the movie was never really the product. You are the product, gently guided from a cheap seat toward the most profitable snack ever invented, in a room where nobody else is allowed to sell you a thing. And honestly, knowing all that, the popcorn almost tastes better. If your brain feels a little bigger than it did when you press play, subscribe, because that is the whole point of this channel. One curious question at a time, drawn in crayon. I will see you in the next one.